Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and this is the summary for the day of 649 for the 4th of December. And again, breaking news coming out from the Bakhmut Front. So the Bakhmut Front is really getting very exciting if you are pro-Russian, very depressing if you are pro-Ukrainian, and very exciting if you are neutral like me. And the Russian forces, as I mentioned yesterday, I mentioned that there was rumors, there's a possibility that the Ukrainian forces have been pushed back to this line into Klishchiivka itself. There was this rumor coming from Deep State UA, and based on the latest mapping by Deep State UA as well as the Rybas mapping, the pro-Russian source mapping, this look like the case. This seems to be exactly what had happened. Based on the latest mapping, if you look at Klishchiivka, this is Klishchiivka, where the Ukrainians are holding position. The Russian forces actually have retaken basically all of the line, or at least almost all of the line along the railway, and they actually even break into the road, the one main road that leads out from the north of Klishchiivka. And the Russian forces are also pushing into the high ground north of Klishchiivka, and this is actually quite disastrous because previously there was at least this one road that the Ukrainians can now use. Now this road is now intercepted by the Russian forces. So if we look closer into more details, according to Deep State UA, the Ukrainian forces still actually have some position around this area of the railway track. However, even in their mapping, along with the Russian mapping, the Russian forces seems to have came to the outskirts of Klishchiivka again. They have basically probably have access to the first buildings, and you can see this road is basically intercepted by the Russian forces, and they have been cut off. So again, Ukrainian forces now have to fight in Klishchiivka again, but however, this town is largely flattened, and a lot of footages have shown that any movement within this village are targeted by artillery or drone strike. It's actually quite bad. So further up north, so the mapping currently, if you in the northern part of Klishchiivka, it looks like the Ukrainians have some part of this forest region. They definitely have the tree lines along this area here, while the Russians have taken these tree lines, and they are probably pushing in this direction against this Ukrainian entrenchment along the within this forest region. This area here is a slope, is a bit sparse as well. So if the Russians have this position, the Ukrainians are probably just in the village. Yeah, the Russians are holding this area, this line here. So this is a current situation in the north, the tactical situation. It looks quite bad. Seriously, it looks quite bad. I have been saying this on a almost daily basis. You know, I bet the pro-Russian viewers are very happy. So further up north, towards Ivanivsky, this Dacha region here, according to information from Ryba and even Deep State UA, you can see that the Ukrainian forces reportedly have withdrawn out of this Dacha region as they are unable to hold this position anymore, as the Russians are pushing. Putting the headlines I put yesterday that the Russian forces are breaking out of Bakhmut very accurate. So the Russian forces has basically resecured most of this Dacha, despite the mapping by Deep State UA have not really updated this situation. But the Russians seems to be definitely making this push towards Ivanivsky. Further up north of this position, this fighting on the western part of Bakhmut, Deep State UA has actually acknowledged it. They basically say that the Russians are conducting offensive operation west of Bakhmut. The situation is currently being clarified. So they are trying to find out what is the real situation. And Russian, as per yesterday's report, the Russians basically have fought all the way to this. There is this nursery over here. This nursery as in for the plants, not for the humans. Over this position. There is some confusion that because there was a report from Ryba saying that there was fighting in the area of the nursery. So my assumption is it could be this nursery. However, if you look closer, you can see that there is some sort of a nursery. If the nursery is some kind of a farming, you can see that all these plants rows. These are also the nursery, but but further up north there's another nursery. So that was the confusion, because this is also the nursery. You can see the same plant row style here. So there was a rumored that the fighting was actually in this area here of the nursery. So yeah, so it could be either nursery, but the same situation. If you look at the Rybus mapping, both nurseries are under attack. You know, freaking Russians, you know, they always want to adopt children as in plants, because they love the nature, you know. So no, Slava, how dare you? And the Russian forces are also fighting in the area of Kromove. According to DPA UA, they say that they say the Russians have partial success near Kromove. So whatever that's supposed to mean, they already previously mapped that the Russians have captured this much of the Kromove. They say that this area of Kromove is still not captured by the Russians. So another partial success wouldn't it be the capturing of the full of Kromove? I have no idea, but the Russians probably is pushing out in this way. So as I want to highlight, there is a heavy entrenchment. You can see there's 3 different icons because the trench line here is ridiculous. So the Ukrainian forces is likely to be able to hold out in that area for some time. So there is fighting reported at Donetsk as well, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. We do not have much information. Based on previous information, the Russian forces are pushing from both sides. So yeah, whoever is sitting on this position will be, you know, so depressing, you know, because the enemy is everywhere, in every direction. Further in the south, in the less exciting but still, you know, pretty important situation, the Russians are still attacking Avdiivka as well as pushing in the area of Kupyansk. The front line here is not clarified. There is no information about the front line around this area here that I can update you with. So that's it from the Bakhmut Front. Very Bakhmutish. So we move on to the next very intense front line, which is the Avdiivka Front, which is where the Russians supposedly main offensive was ongoing until now. Suddenly the Bakhmut offensive is, you know, becoming more exciting. The Russians are attacking in the area of towards Ocheretine, Stepove, in the coke plant south of the volcano, which is the stack heap, in the south of Avdiivka, towards Zhevene, as well as Pomaysky. So this is the current strategic situation. There's no Ukrainian counterattack being reported, but except that, you know, around in the Stepove and the coke plant region, it was reported that the Ukrainian forces have armored to help in the defense. And then I finally have solved the problem with Novobakhmutivka. I'm freaking blind. So I keep thinking, how come there was fighting in this area in the east of Novobakhmutivka? Apparently, there's another Novobakhmutivka here. So, you know, this is why this is the east, then makes sense. And the most funny thing is that I actually already seen it before. I did write it before, but I've forgotten about it. So, you know, DPA is blind, and Ukrainians have no creativity in their, you know, in their village naming, and I'm very disappointed with the Ukrainians. You know, just call it something different, right? Just, like, you know, call it, you know, Novo, but I do not know how to name car. You know, it's even better. It's still better than having 2 Novobakhmutivka just, you know, like 11 kilometers from each other. You know, how are you going to reach the destination? Is that you take the taxi and then you just say, taxi driver, please bring me to Novobakhmutivka, and then he will reply, sorry, can you speak Ukrainian or Russian? I don't understand English. So, you know, very disappointing. There is geolocation of a Ukrainian front line. As you can see, this geolocation is actually the Ukrainian armored vehicles. As I mentioned, the Ukrainians are defending with armor against the Russian onslaught in the Stepove region. The Russians apparently is not storming Stepove, which is understandable because Stepove is pretty flat. The village is actually not easy to entrench themselves. So the Russians are holding the line. They are continue bombarding. They let the Ukrainians come, you know. Like, you know, when you play computer games, you know that the AI is already scripted to always go into this position to attack you. You just set a kill zone and just wait until they are, you know, totally spent. Then you go on the offensive and take over the town. So then you break out. So the thing is, the Ukrainians indeed just keep going into that like as if it's scripted. So it's it's like what maneuver warfare, go to hell, the mobile warfare. It doesn't make sense, right? We have to fight for every inch. That seems to be the case. Geolocation of by Kreminna Caprice of further Russian offensive. Further operations continue to show that the Russians are taking more grounds south of Stepove. They are now definitely pushing. Mainly the main change is actually around this area, as the front line was previously around this area here, and the Russians are pushing south and are definitely trying to push closer to the Ukrainian position at the coke plant. So this is what is happening. Fighting was reported south of the slag heap, so-called with partial success, whatever that's supposed to mean. So yeah, so they are definitely pushing south. Maybe didn't step on the mine, didn't trip themselves. That's also some form of success. There's frontline changes. Previously, the Ukrainian have mapped them to have control around this area here. Now there is geolocation of Russian forces geolocated by Kreminna Caprice under attack by Ukrainian FPV drones, which means that Russians are already here, and then they are definitely storming in this area, storming south. And so the Ukrainian forces is definitely at least on the lower side of this Dacha region. So yeah, so another frontline change, another push, another success for the Russians. So very tricky situation for the Ukrainians. The noose is tightening. Over in the south, we don't have anything. The Russians seems to be pretty happy to sit back over at this industrial zone area, and geolocation of Russian tank. This time around, the heroic tank with its body came out again and do some firing at the tree lines again. They are definitely not wanting to go into the tree line just yet. So yeah, so that's the situation, which is probably what this attack reported by the Ukrainian Defense Ministry is reporting about. Yeah, Chauvinist, there's fighting Chauvinist, fighting at Pervomaiske. There's nothing much to talk about over this area here. That's it from the Avdiivka front. We have nothing over the New York front, which is between Bakhmut and Avdiivka. And then now we go into, let's say, the southern front. We go by the rotation. In the southern front, the Ukrainian forces continue to not give up on the beachhead over at Krinky, and they continue to attack. According to a very long report by Ryba, basically, the Ukrainians Marines try to push south again. They managed to push south a little bit, and then they got bombarded. Some of troops redrawn out, and then got evacuated. Some of them are the injured ones. So this is like a cycle, that just keep on continuing. Further up north, there is the Russian Defense Ministry reported that their units, and supported by Air Force and artillery, inflicted losses on the Marines, Ukrainian Marines over at Tiahinka. But so usually I report this as attacks, but no, this is not the front line. I'm not sure how the units are involved. I wonder maybe it's attack using drones. But then to say attack using drones supported by aviation, that also sounds weird. So I'm not sure what is this about. I wonder if there's any landing of troops by the Russian forces over at Tiahinka, because I'm starting to find this report a bit weird. But clearly, geolocation of Lancet being flown into Tiahinka, hitting a communication station, clearly show that the Russians are probably not there. If they are there, maybe they are in the south, but I don't think so. So maybe I think I pressed the wrong button. Maybe the Russians are in the south, but I don't think so. I think if they are there, the Ukrainians would just squeeze them to death, because the Russians will face the same problem about moving troops across the river. So most likely it's just shelling, but I just don't like the way how they write it. It's very, very vague. So moving on from the Kherson Front into the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Zaporizhzhia Front, this is Zaporizhzhia city. This is the Zaporizhzhia Front. At the Kayamsky sector, we have some geolocation of sorry, this is wrong color. Of some Russian artillery strike with MLRS over at Stenokhursk. What did they hit? Troops. So they hit troops around this area here, just northeast of Stepove. There's another shelling. This time around they hit the counter battery radar. So So that's the situation. It's a positional warfare over at Kupyansk. So over at the Orikhiv sector, this is Orikhiv city or town. The Orikhiv sector, the Russian forces continue their offensive and pressure over at Robotine, particularly at Verbove. This is Verbove. This one is particularly interesting. So according to the reports from Deep State and Ryba, they kind of suggest that there is some kind of a major offensive by the Russians. If you read Ryba, the way how they write it, they say that the Russian forces went on the offensive. So because the Ukrainians transferred troops away from this front line, so now there's good condition for counterattack. And Deep State UA, the pro-Ukrainian source, say that the Russians attack at Verbove and have partial success. So this combined information suggests that maybe that the Russians have conducted some pretty big or major offensive operation in the Verbove region, coupled with their usual pressure at Robotine. So this is actually something to take note, because if the Ukrainians cannot hold the position, suddenly the jaw shuts. That will be a disaster, for the Ukrainians. It will be just as disastrous as the push at Bakhmut or the capture of Avdiivka city. Because Robotine region, has been hyped up by so much. This is where the Ukrainian main push was, and this is all the Ukrainian military pride is. This pride is all here. So yeah, geolocation of Ukrainian forces getting hit at in the area of Robotine, geolocated by Kreminna Caprice, just shows the pressure that Russians are putting on the Ukrainians in this area here, and that's it. There is fighting. The Ukrainians did try to do something. Over at this Nesteryanka region, the Ukrainians launched an attack in the area of Nesteryanka. This is going to be hard because there is heavy entrenchment around there. This is reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. The 180 Mechanized Brigade attack near Nesteryanka. Nesteryanka is a very hard nut to crack, because the Ukrainian forces, before their counteroffensive, so maybe around late 2022 or early 2023-ish, they did try a few times. It was captured on film, not film. There's no more film in today's age. Captured on kilobytes and megabytes. That the offensive operations failed over this region here. There is heavy minefields, and the Russian forces defending this area seems to have very good defensive position and early warning. So it failed, and I think this is not going to last. Over at Huaypole, nothing to report. Over the Velika Novosilka sector, this is Velika Novosilka. This is the sector. The Russians launched an attack over in the Prione region, as per reported by the Russian Defense Ministry. They are fighting against the 102nd Territorial Defense. And that's it. From this area here, there is geolocation of Uruzaine getting hit by ATGM, which means the Russian forces are actually not that far away. So that's about it over at this sector. Over at the Donetsk Front, there is fighting reported at Voleda. There is fighting reported at Novomikhailivka. There's nothing much to shout about. So it's just the usual, nothing very special. And then there is fighting reported at Marinka, and Marinka continue to be this big scam that the Russians will never went on to capture. They just continue to just pretend that the fighting here is so hard, but no. Yeah, I don't think they make any attempt to really want to capture it. Over at Avdiivka Front, we covered New York, we covered Bakhmut, we've covered. We go into the Siversk Front. This is Siversk. There is fighting reported at Bilohorivka, according to the Ukrainian Defense Ministry. So other than that, we don't have much information. That's all from the Siversk Front. Nothing in the south. We move into Kreminna Front. This is Kreminna. At the Kreminna Front, the major push over in this region is actually east of Terny. The Russian forces continue to make progress in this area here, in the area of Terny. This is Terny, and the Ukrainian forces are holding this tree line, this valley with trees region, and the Russians are continuing to take grounds slowly, and they are moving in this direction towards Terny. So I think the Russian operation aims is to straighten the front line and get as close as possible to Terny over time. So this would probably what we're gonna see over the next few weeks. The Ukrainian forces do counterattack over in the Yampolivka region, and this time around I believe this is in reaction to the Russian push in the Terny region. So the Ukrainian forces probably is trying to attack in this area here, trying to draw Russian forces away from their main offensive. So this is probably what is happening. We don't have much detailed information. This is just my presumption. Ukrainian forces are also attacking in the area of Dibrova. The Russians, however, is pushing within the Serebyansky forestry. And I want to show you something. So this is the by Deep State UA. You can see the Deep State UA here. This is actually the Serebyansky forestry. This is before, this is after. As you can see, the previously while they are fighting is still is still pretty much still quite green. But by the time the latest satellite image that they show now, you can see how intense the fighting in this area is. Not just I think this is still pretty summer-ish given how green it is, but you can see how bare it is. Most of the trees here have been deforested. They really hate the green movement. So everything is now you can see the major fighting is around around this main road, this area here, this area. So these are the major fighting areas. This is Dibrova. This is, if I'm not wrong, this is Dibrova. Or if I'm wrong, then this could be Kuzmine. And I think this is Serebyansky, this is Kreminna already. So yeah, so you can see how bare this area here is. The Russian forces continue to hold a position. The position is, if I'm not wrong, is along this road, along this area. This is the Russian position. The Ukrainians are holding this area here, where the Russians continuously trying to push out. And yeah, you can see just how intense the battle is. So and you can see it fits. Yeah, that's Dibrova. You can see that's Dibrova, and it's very close. This is actually so close. In terms of the overlay. So yeah, so that's it from the Kreminna Front. We move on to the SITREP Front. At the SITREP Front, we don't have much. We move on to the Kupyansk Front. This is Kupyansk, and this is the Kupyansk Front with Berestove, very suspicious. It can be on SITREP or the Kupyansk Front. Russian forces is continuing their Kupyansk offensive with fighting reported at Sinkivka, Petropavlivka, Liman Pershi, and Berestove. As you can see, pretty much more or less the same thing, except that we don't have anything around this area here. The Ukrainians are continuing to counterattack over at Sinkivka region. And yeah, there's nothing special about the Kupyansk region. And then there's another picture I want to show you. Give me a while. So this is also again another satellite image from Deep State UA, and if you wonder what is this is actually the Kreminna Front. So this is Kreminna city. Let's change the color. This is Kreminna city. This is actually the front line. This is Donetsk city. So this is Avdiivka. So this is probably where the Donetsk Front is, and then we can see the Kreminna Front around here. So we probably can cut something like this. So you can see the entire region here there's no farming operation. There's no farming activities, put it that way. So and you can see how dry the river is, the Dnipro River around the Zaporizhzhia region. So this area here, this is actually the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant, and you can see the water is very shallow. It just returned to the natural state of the river. So this is and it's very interesting to see that there is another non-farming line around here. This is for me is quite interesting, and I can see there's also further lines. You can see there's no farming around this area here. So yeah, this is just something very interesting to take note how big this war is. That you can actually see it on the satellite image. It's just so big that you can see from the space. and exactly where the front line is. So yeah, nothing can compare to this right now. All the wars in the world right now, in Gaza, in Sudan, in Myanmar, nothing can compare to the Ukraine war. So this is the summary for the day of 649 for the 4th of December. Do press the like button, subscribe if you are new to this channel or you haven't subscribed. If you are subscribed, also do check the subscription button. Is it subscribed, or have you been secretly unsubscribed? And I'll see you in the next update.